Presented by Sriram Narayan from ThoughtWorks Studios. He's a product principal with ThoughtWorks Studios. He's currently the owner of features related to deployment on the Go team. Go is a tool that's used for continuous delivery. During the course of 15 years in IT, he's worked as he's worn multiple hats, including that of a developer, manager, architect, agile coach, and leadership coach. He'll share the techniques today about effective product backlog management when you have feature requests coming in from multiple sources.
Thank you. Am I audible? Can you? Hello? Okay. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, Shantla. And yeah, like you mentioned, I work for this team. So Go is a product that helps with continuous delivery. And today this is going to be a workshop. So I'll do a little bit of introduction, set the context for what the activity we are going to do. And yes, before that I want to quick understand the audience. So how many of you here are into products on a day-to-day basis, doing products? Okay, okay. And so among those of you who raised your hands, how many of you are developing products on behalf of some client or somebody external versus so how many of you are doing it for yourself, your own businesses or products? Okay, okay, great. So this is most relevant to the last category, where you're developing products for yourself, like it's your business, survival depends on the success of the product. But others can also maybe relate to what's being explored here. And so, to do this workshop, we will have to assume that we are all now part of, a product business. So I'll describe the product to you, and to keep it in a familiar enough domain, I've chosen like a calendaring system, something that hopefully most of us are familiar with. And then we'll go. I called it Timely. It's a calendaring system. Since it's not a real existing product, I have to take a screenshot from an existing product like Google Calendar, right? We'll, for the purposes of this workshop, we'll think it's we entered early into the market. There weren't too many calendaring systems around at that time, and we built a stable product business. We have many customers, but we're facing challenges to sales growth, and there is increasing competition. Yeah, so that is the context. And is this sort of situation that you can relate to? Does anybody relate to this? Okay. Okay. And so it's doing okay, yeah, not great, and we have a fairly large number of customers, but they're not growing, and there is increasing competition. And also in this sort of environment, you tend to get a lot of inputs from various people, right? Your existing customers tell you, I want this capability is missing. Your sales and marketing guys are telling you some things, and who else? Who are the other? What are the other sources of input in such a situation? Yeah, our teams itself. Yes, our product development teams or other internal. If it's a big multi-product organization, and if the product is being used by other people in the organization, they will also have some feedback to give. Yes. Who else?
Consultants, evangelists.
Consultants, evangelists. Yes. Are they part of the organization or external?
External.
External. Yeah. So in general, yes, you might get people generally, using. Okay. And another thing that I forgot to mention. So there is a free tier and a paid tier, which is very common, right? So you have a fair number of users of this product who are using it at the free tier, right? And they don't get access to commercial support and things like that. So they participate maybe in forums and all, and maybe they blog about your product or they tweet about it, etc. So you get feedback from those sources as well. Who else? Sorry? Competition, yes, that's a good point. I mean, you're not getting direct feedback, but you're in an industry where there are other competitors. So you have to keep a constant watch on what are they up to, what do they have that's promising and we don't have, things like that. So there is competitive intelligence, right?
Your own innovation as well.
Yes, there is our own product vision, which we think that this is where we want to take the product, that is there. And in a multi-product organization, there might be the execs, yeah, so we are the product management team, but there might be the execs who think that, you know, maybe this is a good thing to do with the product, etc. You might get some inputs from them, right? So yeah, there are several sources. So there are sources and there are channels of input, yeah. I'm just establishing the terminology here. What are the channels through which you get this feedback, right? One is you might get some feedback through email, right? What are the other channels? Verbally, yes, a lot of feedback is verbal in meetings, face to face, in casual conversations, yes. What else?
Blogs, social forums.
Yes, social media is another channel through which we get these inputs. What else?
Service requests, like to your support.
Yeah, great. So if you have a paid tier where people get paid support, they're going to file support tickets, right? And some of those support tickets might be about things that are already existing in the product, but they just need some helping hand to know how to do it. But others might be things about why doesn't this work this way, or why doesn't this have this extra option, and things like that, right? So that's a rich source of feedback from existing users of your product.
Sometimes it is indirect, like you do some data analytics, like, and you work out that this thing is not working out, so you find a solution to that.
Yeah, great. Yes, if you have that capability where you can do data analytics, for example, if it's a web-based product, which this is, you might have some clickstream analysis built into your product, and you might be able to figure out what features are used a lot and what are not used, things like that. Yeah.
Your sales team.
Yes, sales and marketing teams. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I went ahead of myself a bit, but yes, I wanted to clarify that, you know, I've been hearing the talks and we've been using the term product backlog in different ways for the purposes of this workshop. When I say product backlog, I don't mean the story backlog or the requirements backlog. Okay, that represents things for which you've already decided that it makes sense to do these things in the product, right? So that I don't have a better term for this, so I call that the things for which we already decided. These are valid things to do, just a matter of deciding whether to do it this month or next quarter. They form your story and requirements backlog. But this is, when I say product backlog, it's more of the raw input, right? Which is just there, scattered all over the place because of all these various sources. Some of it is in people's minds, emails, support ticket database, etc. And it's raw input. Yeah, you haven't processed it and decided which of it makes sense and which of it should be moved to the story backlog. Yeah. So everybody okay with this term? So this workshop is more about the product backlog. It's not about prioritization. It's not about judging the input and saying is it valid or not. Yeah, we're not. That's all later stage. This is more about managing the raw input that is coming in from so many different channels and just understanding what it's saying. Right. So we just discussed the sources of valid input, and you gave many of the things listed here. You already covered, right? For industry trends, right? So there is competition, but also there is general industry trends, even for the domain in which our product is. So we need, there is somebody in the team who is either in charge or naturally monitors these things and says, hey, this is where the industry is moving. With respect to a calendaring system, I mean, no self-respecting calendaring system can say I can only work web-based. I don't have any support for mobiles, right? So, but it's an industry trend that happened in the last few years. It didn't exist 5 years back, let's say. So, what else? Yeah, in terms of channels, yeah, if you are, depending on the nature of your product, you might actually have either a web-based support or you might have call centers, right? And in case, then that forms another channel of feedback that can be, that can be analyzed and seen, what are people complaining about. VOC interviews, is anybody familiar with VOC? Yeah? Voice of customer. It's a sort of a semi-structured technique for detailed interviews with existing customers or with prospects about what are the what are the things they would like to see um, in a product that that they want to use on a daily basis. Okay, so there is obviously a lot of information from different sources and via different channels, and most often there is no single person in charge to manage all this information. So it's all in people's minds. Different people have heard different things, and so most often what happens is we take this into account somewhat subconsciously when we prioritize things, but we don't necessarily have a database to consult and say and get some proper insights before we decide what are the things we are going to prioritize next, right? So do you relate to this, and how do you keep track of all this information?
Actually, all ideas, thoughts, half thoughts and everything, we're actually using a very rudimentary bug tracking system.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So at some point in time, anybody requirements backlog once you're done with it. But everything is just dumped in a bug tracking system.
Great. So at least you have something, right? But is there a single person with the responsibility of making sure it all goes there? Does it get missed out? Right. Okay. Yeah, and that is commonplace. And but if you're putting it into a bug tracking system, right? But when you put it into a bug track, is it like a what do you call that? Free text, a paragraph of fields? Are you tracking specific fields for every entry? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, that is the starting point, right? But if you want to get some insights out of it, it's not structured information, right? So you have to pretty much sequentially go through all that, or maybe because you live in that product day-to-day basis, you have a fair idea of what's there in there. But it would be good if it was organized better and there were some fields tagged against each such entry, right? So what are some fields that we could track? For every entry that we add. Okay, example. Okay, input is relevant to what metric? Okay. 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 Sorry, area of the product. Okay, great. Source of information. Okay. So yeah, where did this piece of information come from? Yes. So can we drill that? What does it mean? What is when we say source of information? What do we? Is it which customer gave this feedback, or which person gave this feedback? Mm. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Source. Yeah. Somebody said something else. Size. Okay. If we were to do it, how big it would be? Okay. Roughly. Yes. Not a real estimation. Yeah. Right. Right. User category. Yeah. Fine. Yes.
And a rough impact from the field.
Rough
Because we are
impact.
adding it at the very beginning, you might not analyze it very well.
Yes. Yes. That's true. Yeah. Okay. So again, we just talked about. So, but the thing is, we talked about these fields, right? But it's better to talk about these fields after having answered, like, what are exactly the insights I want to get. Once I have classified all this, right, and done everything, what are the questions it should answer? And once we have some agreement on what questions it should answer, we might be able to better come up with a short list of fields that we need to track, right? So, so let's talk about that. What insights do we want to gain from this data? What do we work on next? I don't. That's more. There is human decision making is still involved in that, right? The data, will it tell us what to work on next? I doubt. Why the idea is there? Okay. Okay. So see, remember, this is raw data. Okay, no processing has happened upon it. all of these are secondary questions. Okay, once you have what is being requested, then you can decide which of it is valuable and which of it is how hard, etc., etc. This we are still in the what is the nature input stage. So given that we are still in the what is the understanding the input, what still are there useful questions that you can ask to understand the input. it, it if it's totally it should not even come into this thing. It will be related to the product. Yeah, so for example, I'll give you some example. See, some of these inputs might, somebody was evaluating your product, decided to go with some other product, right? And you might have collected some feedback in that process, that why did you, after evaluating, why did you decide not to go through, right? Now that input might be captured here. Now for that input, what given, if there are, over a period of time, if you collect this kind of input, can that answer any question? Can this sort of answer any question about, can it give you any insight into that on this lines? See, for example, it can tell you what is the most common reason that people are evaluating but not buying, right? Is there a common reason? Or like if over a 6-month period, if you had 20 people, 20 customers, potential prospects evaluating but not buying, and you captured all that feedback, right? It's likely that out of 20 there will be some repeated reasons, right? And if you have this data, you might be able to answer the question, what is the most common capability because of which evaluators are not converting customers, right? So what are other such questions?
Product which is existing.
Right.
Gives you a gap of what the volume of things which are not there in your product which you could.
Yes. So the thing that we discussed about that, what are what are the most common missing things, is an example in that direction, right? What else? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, probably you already have this in your mind, but I'm not, clearly stating my thing. So here are some things that I think we can answer if we have this data in a fairly good shape, right? So what, compared to competition, what are we missing? What are our weaknesses, right? And in case of people who are actually buying, we still need to take feedback. Why did you buy us? Like, you were evaluating 3 products. Why did you decide to go with us? That might give you a sense of our strengths compared to the competition, right? And then we said, like, we have a vision, right? But also there is a lot of feature requests coming in from so many. If the case is that all the requests are not related to the vision at all, right, then there is some mismatch somewhere, right? Like, we think we want to take the product along in one way, but all the input that we are getting from all, none, there is no overlap with vision. That would be a very useful thing to know by itself, right? Customer attrition, like, people have bought, paid you 1-year subscription, but after 1 year they did not renew. If that happened, that's again, that's a different, that would be a different reason than people not coming in at all, right? So if we are able to capture, like, if whenever there is time for renewal, if they're saying that, yeah, nice, but we no longer need it anymore, or some other product, if you're able to capture that data at that point of time, then, and if you're just able to capture, we are not analyzed it yet, just captured it and tagged it that this belongs to this category, that this feedback is from a customer who did not renew, right? Then we will know what are the top missing capabilities leading to customer attrition. Yeah.
About the third bullet.
Our strengths compared to competition. Yeah. So when I say product backlog, that's a good question. It's like, if you are capturing at the time of every sale event, whether it's a successful or somebody decided, you're capturing some feedback and putting it there, right? So this system is not a queue of work to be acted upon. It's more of a product intelligence. You're gathering product intelligence over there, right? And yes, in terms of strengths, that is really something to be worked upon, but it's something to be acknowledged that, okay, this is my strength and I need to pay enough attention to it, because a lot of people are buying my product because of this, right? Does that sort of answer?
Backlog definition is very different than, I mean, it will not tell me what's good. It tells me what's there which I need to work on, whether we have discussed it or not.
That's true.
Slightly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Everything else is a call to action.
Yeah.
But this one is not so much a call to action, but it's at least tells you that don't ignore this area because apparently it's your strength, right? So for example, usually in any stable product, there are a lot of known bugs, let's say, which are just low priority because we don't get any support tickets related to those bugs. So if you know them, QAs have tested every possible scenario. We say, you know what, the scenario is unlikely to arise, and because people are not complaining anyway, so we just leave them. We don't prioritize them. But if you know that it's an area of your strength, then, and if you have some capacity, you can say, okay, from my areas of my strength, I'll try to iron out all bugs in all different scenarios. So what is data answer, right? It depending on how you collect this data, it can answer what are the most used features or the most unused features, the most liked features. Unlikely that you will get input that these are the features, but sometimes you do get, yeah. And this is the only point, most liked features, which relates to the emotional aspect of your product, right? Somebody, I don't know if somebody mentioned this, a lot of when we talk about product backlog and all, it's all about utility, right? This feature serves this purpose. But when somebody actually, when you're talking to somebody and somebody says, I really like this thing about the product, that's mostly an emotional angle to that feature, right? And so this, if you're somehow able to track this, it gives you some value, some idea of the emotional connect of the product with its users. And then, like somebody said, if you're sizing, right, then you can say roughly, without any like developer estimation or anything, roughly, like if this is a calendaring product and you know the going to do this activity now, and I'm going to say that this product right now in its shape, it only supports viewing of events on your mobile. It does not support creating meetings from the mobile, right? And obviously people are going to request for that I want two-way sync with my mobile, right? And that's potentially a large feature, you know, that even without going to the developers and estimating that. And so there might be